GLC is now offering a free audio stream of our 24/7 broadcast that we're calling GLC Radio, an online radio station that broadcasts our round-the-clock audio stream on a variety of platforms. GLC Radio gives you the ability to listen to GLC virtually anywhere, through your home or office computer, or on the go with a mobile device. You can access GLC Radio through our website or by searching for God's Learning Channel through iTunes Internet Radio, TuneInRadio.com, or on Shoutcast.com. Explore various GLC Radio-enabled mobile apps by visiting our website at glc.us.com/listen/GLC Radio. GLC Radio, your free connection to GLC anywhere, anytime.
Well, welcome to the GLC Update program on a Monday, and after a hectic 2 weeks of update or roundup.
After an exciting 2 weeks of roundup.
It
was wonderful.
You know, and I'm even hearing that from like Jerry in the bookstore. I popped in over there. She's like, "Wow, Amy, what an excellent roundup!" And God gets all the glory for that because man, he brought in some great guests.
He did.
So anyway,
Amen.
and I want to say hi to Vanita because she's back.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Got Vanita back.
The team's very glad that Vanita's back. We've missed her. Okay.
Absolutely.
And Vina did a very good job, I think, of choosing the repeats for tonight's Slide of the Southwest. That will be the first hour, Dr. Rebecca Thomas, and the second hour, Rabbi Jeremy Gimpel. This is the one that we aired, I don't know, 5-6 weeks ago, when he was up at Ha-Yovel last February or March.
Boy, I saw his program this morning.
Israel Inspired?
Yes. It was awesome. If you didn't catch it sometime.
Okay, well, it's like every other program.
Plays several times.
You can find it on the schedule, and if you don't have a schedule, all you have to do is go to the website, click on schedule, and you can actually type in Israel Inspired, and it'll pull up every single one of those for you. It'll highlight them. But Israel Inspired is also in our archives. So there are 4 programs in the archives with them right now, and that means that the one that's currently airing is in the archives. You can watch it anytime you want this week. So maybe I should do that.
It's really worth watching, guys.
Because I've only seen one of the ones that we've shown. And Mom was just all so impressed with this program, and I'm like, Mom, every single one of them that I've seen has been that way.
Yeah, they have been.
You know, so.
But this one was more so.
So just too many exciting things happening. So Dad introduced a new partner last week during Roundup. It was on Tuesday night, I believe, the Defender. What's that all about, Mr. Cooper?
We did it on Wednesday night. We only got 2 nights of it in last week. Well, let me show you a little map that will explain it. See all those black dots? The Defender, we need 300 of them at $1,000 a piece. There's several things that this does. One of the main things is if you live where one of those black dots are at, you'll be able to see GLC in the month of November.
If we get your system converted.
If we get it converted, but right now we're short of funds to get them converted.
So what he's talking about is the various cable systems.
52 of them.
That we need to convert from picking up the signal from the SES, changing it over to the Galaxy 19. And SES goes away at the end of this month.
It does.
So we've got to get that done. Now, that is a minimum of $26,000.
Yep.
But the extra on that, because anybody with any kind of mathematics abilities can multiply 300 by 1,000, and you realize real quick that's a lot more than $26,000. What we would like to do is to be able to go to SES and ask them for an extension. Without money in our hand, that's not going to happen, because they have been carrying us and carrying us and carrying us without payment for many months.
And how much do we owe them?
$246,000.
So you can see where the
300,000 comes
300 came from.
Yep. We got a lot to do, but I'm telling you what, things are exciting, exciting, exciting behind the scenes over here, which is good because I'm tired. That's what keeps me going. You know, I think before we kick off, oh, here's another thing. We are giving away what we call the Nuggets DVD for the entire roundup. Every single night, all of the really profound things that were said, Mason is at this moment going through and finding the nuggets for us. And we're guessing there's probably going to be 4 DVDs in a set. That's what we're figuring right now. And I don't know, it could be more. But anybody who donates during the month of October is going to receive that DVD set. Which reminds me, if you're donating by PayPal, and I have one here, that we don't have an address on you. Your name is Kathleen, and you have a recurring PayPal donation of $30. Many times, if you set up a recurring donation, we don't have the address. So if you're wanting that DVD and you have a recurring PayPal donation, please make sure that we have your address or we can't send it to you.
They can email it or
you can email it to info@glc.us.com. You can give another PayPal donation and put it in the description. I want the DVD. Here's my address. Or you can simply call us. We do have an 800 number. And you can call the GLC bookstore and give them your information, or you can call the business office. Either one of them can help you with that. We are, of course, still taking pledges through the end of the month.
Yes.
And every dime helps. You know, God did a really good job, I thought, last week of putting things in really simple form for us. And one of the things that probably struck me harder than anything else that he had to say was how my thoughts are not your thoughts and my ways are not your ways. What other television network has been established that doesn't sell airtime? And it's like, he wants GLC to be the responsibility of the people who want truth. So
right.
there it is.
And that's why those defenders are so important.
Well, you know, I'm still paying bills too. So I got to have money for bills just as much as we've got to have the defenders to get the things
That's right.
done. But you know what? We serve a God who owns a cattle on 1,000 hills and then some. And those are probably hills in like, I don't know, Israel or heaven, so that they're many,
Lots of cattle on them.
Lots of cattle on them. They're just packed with cattle. Okay, so
And he probably owns oil wells underneath those cattle.
he like owns everything.
He does.
He is the big kahuna. Do you want to share your letter?
Yes. This letter says, I want to thank you for being there for me. I am handicapped and I live alone. I found GLC in February and boy, my eyes are bad today. Been reading the computer. Could you read that for me, please?
Well, she says, I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I watch off the air with an antenna. I've already pledged, but I want to tell you this roundup has been remarkable for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's Kim in Las Cruces.
She's
Thank
watching
you,
off the
Kim.
air as wireless.
That's Dad's form of wireless.
Yeah.
You're funny.
Well, that's why the wireless people want our wireless.
Well, that's very true. Okay, Mom, you got a really great devotion.
I do.
A really great devotion.
It's kind of funny. It's called Are You Listening? James 1:19 and 20 says, So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. Franklin D. Roosevelt got tired of smiling that big smile and saying all the usual things at those White House receptions. So one evening he decided to find out whether anybody was paying attention to what he was saying. As each person came up to him with extended hand, he flashed his big smile and said, I murdered my grandmother this morning. People would automatically respond with comments such as, how lovely, or continue on with your great work. Nobody listened to what he was saying except for one foreign diplomat. When the president said, "I murdered my grandmother this morning," the diplomat responded softly, "I'm sure she had it coming to her." It's a funny story, but how often do we do the same? It seems that we have lots to say, but we're not very good at listening. Think about it. How many language, speech, and speaking courses can you find in your college course book? But can you find even one class on listening? There's such a lack of good listening skills in this day and age that we have to pay someone a lot of money just to listen to us. More importantly, God has many things He desires to reveal to us, but we're always talking, talking, talking. Let's strive to do less talking and more listening today.
Oh, boy.
Let's give the Lord and others a chance to be heard.
I love that.
Amen.
You know,
It's on the head.
one of the real keys to listening is actually listening, not thinking about what you want to say.
That's what most people do is while the other person's talking, they're thinking about what their answer is going to be instead of concentrating on what that person's saying.
And I will tell you, it really takes training. You really have to train yourself to
Cut off the thinking.
not do that. Every once in a while, I'll find myself doing that, and I will stop myself. No, you listen.
Yeah.
Because from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And that's how you can really tell what's going on with somebody. Sometimes it's not discernment that I have, but just,
Pay attention.
paying attention to what somebody's really saying. Okay. Breaking Israel News brings us this first article marking the one-year anniversary since an attempted assassination on his life at the hands of Palestinian terrorist. Rabbi Yehuda Glick, founder of the Temple Mount Heritage Foundation, celebrated life in the same location where his almost once ended. Yesterday, Sunday, October 18th, Glick hosted Survival and Celebration, an event celebrating the divine intervention surrounding his miraculous recovery at the Menachem Begin Heritage Center in Jerusalem.
This event is for everyone who prayed, aided, and hoped for my well-being. I invite all those people to join in celebrating my miraculous survival and recovery. I'm eternally grateful to God, who must have felt that I have more to do in this world, stated Glick. On October 29th, 2014, following a presentation that Glick gave at the Menachem Begin Heritage Center concerning the importance of maintaining the Jewish presence on the Temple Mount, a terrorist rode up to Glick on a motorcycle, stated, "I'm terribly sorry, but you're an enemy of Al-Aqsa," and shot Glick 4 times at point-blank range.
Well, Glick not only survived the assassination attempt, but he has relentlessly continued his mission to assure that the Temple Mount remain open to all denominations who wish to ascend this holy place. In recent weeks, Glick published a guidebook of the Temple Mount titled Arise and Ascend. In honor of the event, Glick created a special film called A Jerusalem Hug from Heaven, highlighting the events surrounding the assassination attempt and his recovery.
Wow.
Oh, dear. Well, we have an accumulation of articles here. Are they from one site or just...
Well,
okay.
it kind of says who they're from when you're talking about, like
in the
one
reading.
Haaretz is quoted and one Ynet
Okay.
and one Algemeiner and whatever. But the titles are kind of what's important. This week, the Palestinian Authority will take another step in its initiative to deprive the Jewish people of their holy places by seeking Islamic authority over the holiest site of Jewish prayer, the Kotel, the Western Wall. Through a proxy contingent, the PA has submitted a new proposal to UNESCO, which is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, that claims the Jewish temple's last remaining external support wall is actually part of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The proposal is set for a vote at UNESCO this week.
The Jewish people consider the Kotel holy because it is a remnant of the Second Temple. Apart from the Temple Mount, the Western Wall, also known as the Kotel, is the most significant site in the world for the Jewish people. It's the last remnant of the Jewish temple. The claim of Islamic ownership also extends to the Mughrabi Gate at the Western Wall Plaza, which is the only point of access to the Temple Mount for non-Muslims. Another Palestinian goal is to divide Jerusalem and make it a Palestinian capital, placing the entire old city of Jerusalem in Palestinian hands.
6 Arab states, Algeria, Egypt, Kuwait, Morocco, Tunisia, and the United Arab Emirates, submitted the proposal on behalf of the Palestinians because the Palestinians are not members of the committee. Israeli sources told Ynet that the Palestinian Authority also intends to move the bid to the UNESCO Plenum, the organization's full assembly, where the PA is recognized as a state. This move can be seen as part of the Palestinian attempt to seek nationhood without negotiation with Israel.
Until the 1920s, the Western Wall was never of interest to the Palestinians. The Jerusalem Mufti attributed Islamic holiness to it only after the Balfour Declaration was signed in 1917, which declared that His Majesty's government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. The Israeli Antiquities Authority writes that the Mufti's scheme was a response to Zionist groups who emphasized that the Western Wall is a national symbol of the Jewish people, in addition to its Jewish religious significance. The Mufti then might have been one of the first to suggest that the Western Wall was a spot where, according to the Quran, Muhammad tied his winged animal upon which he ascended to heaven.
The PA's proposal claiming the Western Wall for Al-Aqsa would have the UN cultural group rename the Kotel the Barak Plaza, which Muslims called the structure in the 1920s, trying to assert a claim to it, writes Arut Sheva. Were UNESCO to hand authority over this area to the Jordanian Islamic Waqf and somehow override Israeli sovereignty, all non-Muslims would likely be barred entrance to the Temple Mount entirely.
Yes. And this next article is the UN discusses terrorism after an arsonist sets fire to Joseph's tomb. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting on Friday to discuss the intensifying Palestinian violence in Israel, which include the burning of Joseph's tomb on Thursday night. Joseph's tomb is located at the eastern entrance to the valley that separates Mount Gerizim and Ebal, the mountains of blessings and curse. It's just 325 yards northwest of Jacob's Well, on the outskirts of the West Bank city of Nablus, the area in which the biblical city of Shechem was located.
As pressing fears make it difficult for Israelis to enjoy normal activities such as shopping to prepare for the Shabbat or taking a bus to work or bringing children to school, Israel's new ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, emphasized the need for a loud and clear condemnation of Palestinian incitement. Last Wednesday, in a message to UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the UN Security Council, Danon said that the current wave of lone wolf Palestinian terror attacks, such acts of pitiless slaughter, do not occur in a vacuum. They are a direct result of Palestinian incitement, deliberately directed to inflame Palestinian children's minds with hate.
Danon told the Altmaier that his New York office that he would combat the moral equivalency used by many in the UN and by other national governments, including the United States, when discussing the conflict in Israel. He said, when someone says that he calls on all sides to stop the violence, I will fight that. It's not all sides. It's one side who is the aggressor, who's sending kids to murder other kids, and the other side is protecting itself.
At a press conference, the new UN ambassador said that if there is to be peace in the region, Palestinian children need to be prepared for that, rather than to be brainwashed to commit murder of ordinary Israeli citizens. When a Palestinian child opens the television, he doesn't see Barney or Donald Duck. He sees murderers portrayed as heroes, he said. When he opens a textbook to do his homework, he doesn't learn about math and science. He's being taught to hate.
Showing the journalist a drawing entitled, How to Stab a Jew, the ambassador said, we talk a lot about incitement here in the UN, You can see with this picture what incitement looks like. He added, whoever avoids direct negotiations is looking for an escape hatch. Abbas's favorite kind of escape is to spread slanderous lies about the situation on the Temple Mount, especially about the status quo.
Well, then, in response to France's proposal to place international observers on the Temple Mount, a proposal the Security Council will consider this Thursday, Danon emphasized that Israel will not agree to an international presence on the Temple Mount, since it would not contribute to stability. According to Haaretz, Danon also told journalists that an international presence on the Temple Mount would violate the status quo of the last several decades.
While Danon did not attend the UN meeting Friday night, his deputy, David Roet, did. Roet stated, "We face an enemy who is willing to die in order to kill. Israel is taking every necessary means to defend its citizens and is responding proportionately to these attacks." The Palestinian representative at the UN, Riyad Mansour, however, asked the Security Council to intervene to end this aggression against the defenseless Palestinian.
Mansour, blaming the violence on Israeli settlers' provocations on the Temple Mount, said, "Israel, the occupying power, is responsible for bringing us to this dangerous situation, and we have to hold it responsible for its illegal violations of international law." Hey, in reality, the provocations to which he refers are simply Jewish people visiting the Temple Mount. Palestinians, however, do not seek peace and do not wish to protect freedom of religion at Israel's holy sites, but rather seek to erase all evidence of the Jewish connection to the Holy Land.
This was clearly illustrated overnight Thursday, just ahead of the day of rage called by Hamas, when Palestinian rioters set fire to Joseph's Tomb compound, which is located near the biblical city of Shechem. Even though the Palestinians claim most of Israel's holy sites as their own, and Joseph is venerated as a prophet in Islam, Joseph's tomb has special importance in Judaism. Joseph, the son of Isaac, is the patriarch of the 12 tribes of Israel, while Ishmael, Isaac's brother, is a patriarch of the 12 Ishmaelite tribes that became the Arab nations.
IDF spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner said in a statement Friday morning, "The burning and desecration of Joseph's tomb last night is a blatant violation and contradiction of the basic values of freedom of worship. The IDF will take all measures to bring the perpetrators of this despicable act to justice, restore the site to its previous condition, and ensure that the freedom of worship returns to Joseph's tomb."
Foreign Ministry Director General Dory Gold said the fire illustrates what would happen to Jerusalem's holy places if they were in the hands of the Palestinian Authority. Only Israel can protect the places that are holy to all religions in Jerusalem. The attack is reminiscent of the actions of Islamist extremists in Afghanistan and Libya.
In Syria, too. Deputy Foreign Minister Zipi Tovli said the tomb is not under Israeli sovereignty, and in spite of that, the Palestinians set fire to it. They are trying to rewrite history by harming Jewish holy places that bear testament to our deep connection to the land of Israel. Although the tomb is currently under the control of the Palestinian Authority, it should be under Jewish control according to the 1994 Oslo Accords,
which Abbas just renounced. Jewish worship has been severely limited at the tomb ever since the start of the Second Intifada in October 2000, after an Israeli border policeman was killed there during clashes with Palestinians. Agriculture Minister Uri Ariel said Friday, "The arson is one of the holiest sites in the Jewish nation, is an additional low and result of Palestinian incitement. Even as the Palestinians shamelessly lie about Israel harming the status quo on the Temple Mount, they themselves are burning and desecrating the holy sites of Israel, and this cannot be forgiven."
Okay, now this next one is about Netanyahu tackling Abbas's lies. Check this one out. The 13-year-old Palestinian who stabbed a 13-year-old Jewish boy while he was riding a bicycle is healing up at a Jerusalem hospital, despite claims by Mahmoud Abbas and other Palestinians that the very much alive Ahmed Manasrah is a victim, murdered by Israel. Israeli police released photos and video of Manasra after Abbas declared in a televised speech on Wednesday night that the teenager was killed by Israeli forces, which he said are practicing the summary execution of our children.
On Thursday, at a press conference, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned Abbas's remarks about Manasra, who on October 12th, along with his 15-year-old cousin, stabbed the 13-year-old bike rider and a 25-year-old Jewish man nearby. Netanyahu said, "Now we have a new big lie. That new big lie is that Israel is executing Palestinians. First of all, Manasra is not dead. He's alive. Secondly, he's not innocent. He tried to kill, murder, knife to death an innocent Israeli youngster, 13 years old, riding a bicycle." Netanyahu added, "This Palestinian terrorist is now being treated in Hadassah Hospital in Israel."
Netanyahu emphasized the only way that we can fight this big lie and all the other lies that are hurled at Israel and spread through the Palestinian social network to the world is to tell the truth. We expect all our friends and anyone concerned with the facts or the truth to look at these facts, to see the truth and not to draw false symmetry between Israeli citizens and those who'd stab them and knife them to death.
Abbas has said previously that the blood spilled by Palestinian terrorists in Jerusalem is pure. Last Wednesday he said, "We continue our political, national, and legal fight, and we will not remain tied to agreements that Israel does not respect." Another false claim referring to the Oslo Accords, which require the Palestinian Authority and Israel to conduct negotiations with each other for a two-state solution.
A social media campaign carried Abbas's incitement to the level of second and third-hand misinformation. Social media has also echoed first big lie that Israel is trying to change the Temple Mount status quo or destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Israeli officials presented to the assembled journalists what the Temple Mount status quo actually is, giving the numbers of those who visit the Mount every year. 3.5 million Muslims, 200,000 Christians, and just 12,000 Jews.
Netanyahu also told journalists Thursday that any other country that saw terrorists attacking with knives, meat cleavers, axes, trying to kill people on their streets would respond as Israel has done. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Alon rebuked the United States State Department spokesman John Kirby for nonsense after Kirby claimed last Wednesday that Israel had utilized excessive use of force in stopping terrorists conducting attacks.
Isn't that something? Mm-hmm. So people, wake up, smell the coffee. All is not as it seems. You know what? We're going to close this program reading some pledges. Okay, we're going to go through this really fast. I've got James in Brevard, North Carolina, donating by PayPal. Jeanette from Manchester, New Hampshire, also donating by PayPal. Ted from Las Vegas, New Mexico, donating by PayPal. Albert from Hereford, Texas, a recurring PayPal partner.
All right.
And Kathleen, I mentioned you earlier. I don't know where you live, and we need to know if you want that DVD. And also Sandra from Lubbock, Texas, a PayPal donation. What do you got?
I've got Terrell, PayPal partner with no address. Kathy from Clovis. And Kathy, well, that's another Kathy. A different Kathy from Clovis. Two Kathys from Clovis.
Yay.
Thank you, both Kathys. Eric from Waterloo, Iowa, by PayPal. Thank you, Eric.
You got a couple,
Dad?
Dad?
Yeah, I got James from Abilene. He's a defender. Evidently, he has called in on his credit card. That's all we know. We have Maxine from Post Office.
Amarillo.
Amarillo. And PayPal. And one more.
Don't have time for one more.
Sandy from Snyder.
All right.
Who mailed it in. Thank you for
praying.
joining us. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We will see you Wednesday.